My sister secretly tried to get pregnant without her husband's consent, so I told him. Now she's divorcing him, my family hates me, and I'm banned from Christmas. I never imagined something like this would happen, especially not in my own family. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, and I feel like my world has turned upside down. I'm 33, the oldest of 3 sisters, a wife and a mom to my wild but lovable 5-year-old daughter. My youngest sister, Emily, 27, and I have always been close despite our differences. She's career-driven and ambitious, while I've embraced being a stay-at-home mom. We've always respected each other's paths, until now. Emily married Toby, her husband, a few years ago. Early on, they decided not to have kids, which surprised me because Emily had always wanted to be a mom. Still, I respected her decision. It was her life, after all. But a few weeks ago, during one of our regular girls' nights out, everything changed. Over a few drinks, Emily confessed that she still desperately wanted kids, but Toby was firm about not having them. She shared how she had hoped he'd eventually come around as he matured, but he never did. What she said next completely floored me. She had secretly taken out her IUD and was trying to get pregnant behind his back. Worse, she was tampering with used condoms to make it happen. I was stunned. I told her flat out that what she was doing was wrong, borderline crazy. I told her it was no different from a man poking holes in condoms, and it was a violation of Toby's trust. She brushed me off, laughing and insisting that Toby would make a great dad and would change his mind once the baby came. Then she switched topics like it was nothing. I couldn't shake the conversation. The next day, I confided in my husband. He was horrified and said I couldn't let her continue. He told me I had a moral obligation to do something. So, I called Emily. I begged her to stop and told her she was playing with fire. But she got defensive, claiming I didn't understand because my husband had always wanted kids. She told me to stay out of it and that it wasn't my place. I wanted to let it go. I tried to let it go, but I couldn't. The thought of Toby being blindsided haunted me. I knew I'd want someone to tell me if the roles were reversed, so I made a decision that would change everything. I reached out to Toby behind her back and asked him to meet for coffee. I started off vaguely, urging him to talk to Emily about kids because I didn't think she was being honest with him. But he kept pressing, so I finally told him everything. When I mentioned the condoms, his face went pale. He left abruptly, looking sick. Not long after, my phone blew up with texts and calls from Emily. She was furious, screaming that I'd ruined her marriage. She told me Toby had thrown the word divorce around during their fight. Then she said something that shattered me. She accused me of being jealous of her career, called me a good-for-nothing stay-at-home mom, and claimed I ruined her life because motherhood was the only thing I'd ever achieved. I couldn't take it anymore. I hung up and broke down in tears. It didn't end there. Emily went to our family, spinning the story to make me the villain. She told them I'd meddled in her marriage and turned Toby against her. My mom, the unspoken leader of our family, sided with Emily. She said I was out of line and that men often change their minds about kids, just like my dad had when my mom got pregnant with me. She called what I did unforgivable. Now I've been uninvited to Christmas, and my family barely speaks to me. They're either cold or outright hostile. Only my husband supports me, saying I did the right thing. But did I? I genuinely thought I was helping Toby avoid a huge betrayal, but now it feels like I've ruined everything. I don't know how to fix this, or if it's even fixable. I just wanted to do the right thing, but it feels like I've made a terrible mistake. Was I wrong? Update 1. After the chaos with Emily, I thought the dust might settle if I just stayed quiet, but that was wishful thinking. Things have only gotten worse, and I've been dealing with the fallout on every side. I didn't think my relationship with Emily could sink lower, but somehow it has. And my family has taken sides in ways that have left me stunned. Here's everything that's happened since my first post. Right after Emily's explosive phone call, I tried to go about my day, but it felt impossible. My mind kept replaying the things she said about me being a stay-at-home mom, how I was jealous of her career, how I'd supposedly ruined her marriage. It hurt more than I wanted to admit. Sure, I knew Emily could be harsh when she was upset, but this wasn't the sister I knew. It felt personal, like she'd been holding these thoughts about me for a long time, and now, in her anger, everything was spilling out. Then my phone started going off. Text after text, call after call, not just from Emily, but from our mom, other family members, even a cousin I hadn't spoken to in months. My mom was the first one to lay into me. She said I had crossed a major line by going behind Emily's back to Toby, that it wasn't my business, and that I had betrayed my own sister. She kept comparing the situation to when she accidentally got pregnant with me and how my dad came around after some time. I told her this was completely different, that Emily was actively deceiving Toby, not just hoping for a change of heart. Mom refused to listen and accused me of destroying the family dynamic by getting involved. That phrase, destroying the family dynamic, stuck with me because it felt so backwards. How could I destroy something Emily had already put at risk by lying to her husband? But in my mom's eyes, it wasn't about what Emily did. It was about me overstepping. She told me I needed to apologize to Emily, fix the damage, and beg for her forgiveness before it was too late. I hung up feeling sick. Things escalated when my other sister, Claire, 29F, got involved. Claire has always been more of a mediator in the family, the one who tries to keep the peace, but this time, she clearly sided with Emily. She called to say she understood why I was upset, but I should have let Emily and Toby handle their own issues. I told her that Emily wasn't handling it, that she was actively manipulating the situation, and I couldn't just sit back and watch it happen. Claire said she got my perspective, but at the end of the day, family comes first. And this has been the recurring theme in every conversation with my family. Emily's actions aren't great, but my reaction was worse because it broke the unspoken rule that you don't interfere in a sibling's marriage. I'm honestly starting to feel like I live in some alternate universe where deceit is okay as long as you don't call it out. Meanwhile, Toby hasn't reached out to me directly, which I expected. The last I heard, he had moved out of their house and was staying with a friend. Emily, however, has made sure I know exactly how she feels. She's called me multiple times, alternating between screaming at me and crying about how I ruined her life. She accused me of being smug about her marriage falling apart, which couldn't be further from the truth. I never wanted this to happen. I just wanted her to stop what she was doing and be honest with Toby. But in Emily's mind, I'm the villain. She's also told everyone in the family her version of events, which conveniently paints her as the victim and me as some meddling, bitter sister. According to her, I've always been judgmental of her choices, jealous of her career, and eager to make her look bad. She's even brought up petty things from years ago, like how I used to tease her when we were teenagers, or how I once made a snarky comment about her not wanting kids at her wedding. She's twisting everything into this narrative that I've always been out to get her, and it's working because most of the family is eating it up. My mom has completely sided with Emily, which hurts more than I want to admit. She told me that I wouldn't understand what it's like to have a family member actively work against you, which felt like a slap in the face because that's exactly what Emily is doing to me now. I've been uninvited from Christmas because it's not the right time for me to be around Emily, and apparently my presence would make things tense for everyone else. I asked if anyone cared about how tense I feel, being ostracized by my own family, but Mom just brushed it off. The only person who's been fully on my side is my husband. He's been my rock through all of this, reminding me that I didn't do anything wrong, and that Emily's actions were the real betrayal. He's told me that even if my family can't see it now, they'll eventually realize that I did the right thing by speaking up. I wish I could believe him, but right now, it feels like I've lost my family for good. The part that haunts me most is knowing I've caused irreversible damage to my relationship with Emily. Even if she and Toby work things out, which seems unlikely, I don't know if she'll ever forgive me. And honestly, I'm not sure if I'll ever forgive her for the things she said to me or for putting me in this position in the first place. I keep replaying everything in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. Should I have confronted Emily more forcefully before going to Toby? Should I have just stayed out of it entirely? I can't shake the feeling that no matter what I did, someone was going to get hurt. Now, I'm stuck in this limbo where I've alienated my family and can't see a way forward. Christmas is coming up, And instead of spending it with my sisters and parents like I always do, I'll be home with my husband and daughter, trying to pretend everything is fine. It feels like this massive hole has opened up in my life, and I don't know how to fill it. Every time I think about reaching out to Emily or my mom to try and fix things, I stop myself because I know they'll just tell me again how wrong I was. But the silence is eating away at me. I don't know how to move forward from here, or if it's even possible to rebuild these relationships. For now, I'm trying to focus on my own little family. My husband and daughter are the only ones who make me feel grounded right now, and I don't want to lose sight of what really matters. But it's hard not to feel like I've lost a huge part of myself along with my family. I thought doing the right thing would bring clarity, but instead, it's left me questioning everything. Update 2. I've spent the past few weeks trying to process everything that's happened, and while I wish I could say things have improved, the situation with my family has only become more tangled and painful. The fallout has taken on a life of its own, and now I feel like I'm losing my footing entirely. After being uninvited to Christmas, I decided I wasn't going to chase anyone for reconciliation. I figured, fine, if they want to freeze me out, I'll let them. I stayed home with my husband and daughter, and we did our best to make it a happy holiday. It was small and quiet, but also bittersweet. I couldn't stop thinking about my family being together without me, laughing, exchanging gifts, pretending everything was fine. I wondered if they even missed me. Then the guilt started creeping in again. Not because I feel like I did anything wrong, I still believe I made the right call, but because I hate how fractured everything has become. My daughter asked why we weren't going to Grandma's house, and I didn't know how to explain it to her without sounding bitter or angry. That was the hardest part, trying to keep my frustration from spilling over in front of her. Things came to a head on Christmas Eve when my mom sent me a long, carefully worded text. She said she wanted me to know that despite everything, she still loves me, but that I had to understand the impact of my actions. She said Emily was really struggling right now, and the family was trying to rally around her during this difficult time. She hinted that I was the one making it hard for Emily to heal by not apologizing and reaching out to fix things. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Once again, it felt like I was being cast as the villain for simply refusing to pretend everything was okay. I didn't respond right away because I knew if I did, I'd say something I'd regret. Meanwhile, Emily has taken her grudge to a new level. Not only has she continued to blame me for her marriage falling apart, but she's now telling extended family that I'm controlling and obsessed with her life. She's spun this narrative where I've always been jealous of her independence and success, and she's convinced people that this was some calculated move to bring her down. It's absurd, but it's working. I've started getting passive-aggressive messages from aunts and cousins who've clearly bought into Emily's version of events. They've said things like, everyone makes mistakes, but family should stick together no matter what, and I hope you find it in your heart to forgive Emily. She needs her sister right now. It's like they're completely ignoring what she did and focusing all the blame on me for how I handled it. I did hear from Toby, which was unexpected. He reached out to thank me for telling him the truth, saying he wished the circumstances had been different, but that he was grateful someone was honest with him. He confirmed that he and Emily are still separated and that he's filing for divorce. Apparently, their conversations after I spoke to him revealed a lot of underlying issues in their relationship that went beyond the baby deception. He said he realized they'd been on different pages for a long time, and this was just the breaking point. Hearing that gave me some relief, knowing that I wasn't the sole reason for their split. But at the same time, it made me feel even more distant from my family. Toby is the only one who's validated my feelings, while everyone else seems determined to paint me as the bad guy. Last week, I tried reaching out to my other sister Claire, hoping we could have a more level-headed conversation. I wanted to explain my side again and see if there was any chance she'd at least hear me out. But the conversation didn't go the way I hoped. Claire said she understood my intentions but still thought I'd gone too far by involving Toby directly. She said I should have trusted Emily to make her own decisions and handled things within the family. I asked her what she would have done in my shoes, and she admitted she didn't know, but that she wouldn't have betrayed Emily. That word, betrayed, cut deep. It's like they're all so focused on loyalty to Emily that they can't see how wrong her actions were. I told Claire that I didn't regret what I did, and that I still believe it was the right thing. She said, well, maybe it was the right thing, but it wasn't your place. That conversation left me feeling even more isolated. It seems like no matter how I explain it, no one in my family is willing to see things from my perspective. Emily, meanwhile, has doubled down on her anger. She sent me a long, scathing text accusing me of ruining her life and destroying her happiness. She called me selfish, petty, and incapable of minding my own business. She even threw in a jab about my parenting, saying I should focus on my rambunctious child instead of meddling in her marriage. That one stung more than I care to admit. I didn't respond to her message because, at this point, I don't see the point. Every time we communicate, it just turns into a cycle of blame and resentment. I've started to wonder if there's any chance we'll ever have a functional relationship again. The saddest part of all this is how it's affected my relationship with my mom. We used to talk almost every day, but now our conversations are strained and awkward. I can tell she's holding back, walking on eggshells around me. She still insists that I need to apologize to Emily, but I can't bring myself to do it. What would I even apologize for? For telling the truth? For trying to stop my sister from making a huge mistake? My husband has been my rock through all of this, but even he's starting to worry about how this is affecting me. He suggested that I take a step back from my family for a while, but that feels so final, like giving up on the people I've known my whole life. At this point, I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to keep fighting for my side to be heard, but another part of me wonders if it's even worth it. Maybe my family has made up their minds, and nothing I say will change that. For now, I'm trying to focus on the things I can control: my own little family, my husband and daughter, and the life we're building together. But there's still a part of me that aches for the family I used to have, before all of this. I just don't know if that version of my family exists anymore.